Hey, yo, everybody. Welcome to our final live stream. It is the final issue of the Wine and Comics Pairing Show. And we'll probably have a few guests joining us at some point tonight. But for the most part, it's me and Dallas. We are sending us off in style tonight. I'll tell you what we're going to be doing in just a little bit of time. I'm going to give it some time for people to join us and whatnot. We're going to ease into this. We're probably going to be live streaming about an hour and a half to 2 hours tonight and just sort of enjoying ourselves and chillaxing because, you know, there isn't a mission to this show per se. We do have an idea of what the show is going to be predominantly, but we don't, you know, we're not on a time limit. There's no one's project we have to shout out or anything like that. So we're going to take our sweet jolly time. If you are watching, if you would like to join us on screen and shout out whatever you have going on, hit us up in the comments. I will find you on social media, DM you the link. You can then come on and join us here on screen at some point in time. We will be broadcasting for the next 2 hours, approximately. And of course, sound off in the comments if you're watching this and if you're watching this from a platform that allows you to leave a comment. All right, why don't we play our theme, our opening theme?
Let's do it.
Last time. Here we go.
Woo!
Well, you know, always in reruns, right? Always in reruns. Go back to the recording and watch that. You know, I almost wanted to, what I wanted to do before today, but I ran out of time. It was just far too busy of a week leading up to this final live stream. John, welcome.
Johnny.
He will probably be joining us a little bit later whenever he's ready and come on screen for a little bit of time. But I was thinking for this final show, I wanted to take that theme song and like slow it down to a dirge, you know, kind of a thing, like and like have it just be this nice lethargic little thing, and then even have the animation like to be slow, and it's like this is the funeral, you know. Let's get the viola going, and let's wow, last episode, crazy. It's Kenrick. LOL. Kenrick, if you would like to come on screen and say goodbye for 5 minutes or however long you want to come on screen for, let me know. I will go to Facebook or Twitter or wherever you are. I will DM you a link so you can come on. We got a couple of creators that will probably be doing that as we go today. But otherwise, we're just going to be having fun by ourselves. What this final show is all about is it's called The Final Issue, and that is the theme of tonight. Me and Dallas are both bringing on one of our favorite final issues of a comic of all time. We're going to discuss what that is. We will be pairing that final issue with a wine and discussing why, and just talk about why that final issue is so important to us. If you come on and join us on screen, you don't have to, especially if it's last minute like now. But we got from Kenrick Shearman. I have limited time right now. Send me the link. Okay, let me go find him on Facebook real quick and quickly grab the invite link. A chicka boom boom. I don't know why I just did a porn sound for this, but sorry.
You know why. You know why.
I know why. All right, over to the DMs. Let me find Mr. Conricchio. Oh, Facebook. Let's go. Right. Refreshing my Facebook page. That's not happening.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. That tab's been open a long time. I don't really blame it, I guess. All right. Kenrick.
Oh, Kenrick.
Little Mr. Ken.
Chocolate.
On Facebook groups. Get on with it. Boy, they are not making this easy.
I know.
Everything is slow tonight. Everything. There he is. Okay. Link straight to Mr. Okay, Kenrick. That is in your FB messages. You can pop on whenever you're ready. All right. And once again, for anyone watching, if you want to join us, just let me know. DM, put it in the comments right there.
Right.
I don't know how much I'll be paying attention to my DMs on other social media. I've got my phone with me right here. So if I notice that you have DM'd me that are not in the comments here, I will try and respond to that as quickly as possible. Like I said, we're going to be doing this for the next couple of hours. So join us if you like. Okay, so Dallas, you were just commenting about the wine you just cracked open. Is this the wine that you are pairing with your final issue tonight?
It is, and curiously enough, it is a wine I have featured before with a different pairing. Yeah.
Well. Okay. Not yet. Okay. Fair enough.
No,
so,
we're gonna chat before we get into it. Yeah, we're gonna
chat before we do it.
We're gonna have some fun.
First off, Dallas. Yeah, Dallas. I want to ask you, what are your thoughts putting this show to bed? What thoughts do you have about this past year and change? We've done about a little over a year of live stream. Well, about almost exactly a year of live streams.
Exactly a year. Yeah.
Exactly a year of live streams proper. And here comes Mr. Kenrick. Welcome.
Hey,
Spoilerverse. What's up, bud?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, welcome to the final show. Welcome. Good to have you back one last time.
Seriously.
Totally.
Yeah,
ready to watch issue
we'll have
2
to
and you
get
guys are gone.
The new podcast, but and that will be a proper podcast like your Spoilerverse versus the live stream type of thing. So it'll be a bit of a different beast. We'll have to actually plan ahead if you want to time it with a Kickstarter campaign versus just go. But nevertheless,
What's you got working? Okay, what's you got going on, Kenrick? For real, what's going on with you these days?
Oh, we just got done with all the art on issue 2.
Sweet.
And we're in the process of doing the final editing. We've gone through like 3 or 4 rounds of editing, so we're on like the last round of editing.
Okay.
And then it'll go off to lettering, and then once the lettering's done, we'll actually, once I start lettering, I'll launch the Kickstarter. So I'm hoping to launch in June.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
So it's
so this month.
So yeah,
don't forget.
Yeah. I guess it is June.
Right.
Wow.
right.
May seems like a long month, but 31 days.
It did.
It is.
Agreed.
It is. It's those 31-day months. It's funny how much that like extra day just throws the whole, because it's like it throws the week off, right? It's like it doesn't start or stop like where you think it's going to, and all of a sudden you're like, it's just still May, right? And it's like, no, man, we did finally cross over.
We did it
at some point.
Yeah.
Yes. I had to remember that for I was just gonna say I have to remember that for rent because I still live in a place where like you have to drop a physical check to the offices. Like they don't take anything electronic, and so like I have to remember to get in. Oh my god, it sucks. So I have to get in a car and go to their effing offices. I could put it in the mail. But
That's a little risky,
they are
though.
like
yeah.
It's like a 20-minute drive. I'm like, no, I will drop it off, but it's always the day before. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I have 24 hours. Tomorrow I've got to make that 20-minute drive.
Dude, the last time I had to write a physical check for rent was the late 90s.
Wow. Yeah.
Like legit. No, early 2000s. I lived in apartments, but then I bought a house not too long after that.
Right. I'm in an apartment still. So,
then ever since then even now I've had landlords since then. And I was able to Venmo or PayPal or
something.
Yeah. I mean, PayPal's been around for a long time now.
Oh, I know. I don't know. Believe me, I don't. I believe. I always suspect that whenever a landlord is like, "God, I just want the paper check," I'm like, "What account? Like, you don't want any digital trail for this fucking thing." Like, come on. I know why you only accept a physical check.
Yeah, dude, I had a landlord when I lived in this place called Bothell, and she would let me give her cash, and then I come to find out she gets fired and she was embezzling a ton of money.
Nice.
Well, welcome, John.
You guys are ruining my whole comic industry thing. That's what I do. Only cash.
What's up, John?
Only cash.
Delivered to my hands.
Cash only, baby. Cash only.
You're that guy at the convention that you're like, don't you have like Square or like any sort? And you're like,
no.
Nope.
You're like, there's Nate's over there. Go get me cash.
That's right.
I'll give you $1 off.
Exactly.
See, then what you do is you
All right.
own the ATM, because then when they go to the ATM, you get in the service
Ding,
fee
ding,
plus
ding.
the cash.
That's right. Close the loop. Get all the
Yep.
money.
That's what the
Yes,
laundromat
yes,
down the
yes.
street from me does.
Right.
It's a
So,
good
John,
racket.
so Kendrick has his next Kickstarter for issue number 2 of Supernatural Baby Detective coming up. What do you got going on right now?
Oh, too many things. First off, I was invited
Goodbye,
to an
winders.
anthology called Phantasmagoria. You may have seen it bouncing around the internet.
Oh.
We're about halfway through
Nice.
this anthology. I am always I think I've said before on your show, I've been doing this a long time, about 15 years. It took me that long to be invited to an anthology. And now I've been invited to a second anthology. So I always feel good when that happens. You know, there's so many awesome creators in comics in general, but especially in the indie community. So it's always nice when somebody thinks enough of your work to say, do you want to participate? I've produced about a dozen anthologies myself, but it's nice not to have to do that part and have somebody actually invite you and do all the hard work, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true.
100% on that. And I just, for everyone watching, it's in the chat. I just dumped the link to that anthology that John just mentioned. So take a look at that, please. And
we have 9 awesome teams, 84 pages. It's a huge anthology, very ambitious, by Mr. Jorge Alvarez, who's spearheading the whole thing. So it's a very ambitious product, very, very wide ranging.
Sweet.
Very nice.
Love that.
How is Zoop as a platform?
Well, I'll let you know Wednesday when it launches and it all crumbles before my eyes, and I'll let you know, because this is my first time. I reached out to them. That's the next project we have coming up. We kind of overlapped a little here. We're going to be launching Wednesday, and I approached them thinking they were a different audience, and maybe I could relaunch some of the other books that we've put out, especially the trade paperback that we just did on Kickstarter. And they were like, yeah, we're not really interested in that, but we love the book. We're very excited. We'd love to partner with you for the next one. So it was nice, you know, for them to kind of pitch to me what they could offer. I hope, you know, that it's at least as much of an audience as Kickstarter. They're definitely comic centric. So they all their emails they send out to their messaging groups will feature, you know, the latest things that are launching. You're not one in a sea of 300 books. They really do give you, you know, some time and some push through their platforms on all their social medias and stuff. So it definitely sounds like, you know, where you want to be, but I've also seen other creators go there and kind of, you know, struggle because that they still who does, right? Who has that audience that Kickstarter's been building for the last, you know, 15 to 20 years. So they kind of just have a natural flow of people, but I think it'll go well though. I like their interface. I like how they lay it out like a it's like a web store, you know. I want this button and I want this issue and I want this variant. You know, you don't have to go through these weird, you know, jumbled and confusing tiers. You just pick what you want and you move on. So a lot of it appeals to me, but we'll just see if the numbers are there. I've already had at least one person reach out to me and say, yeah, I'm not doing another platform. Let me know when you come back to Kickstarter.
Are they using Stripe for their credit card processing?
I believe they use PayPal.
Because did you guys see what's going on with Kickstarter and Stripe?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. So I'm curious if it's going to push people to other platforms like that.
I mean, I think it definitely will. Nobody wants to go in with any kind of risk of you know, their thing being canceled, refunded, losing, you know, a certain percentage, whatever it is. That's a huge hassle. So I assume some of the bigger creators will start exploring if they haven't. Well,
because like I think a Coffin Press? Who's got people doing Lady Death? I mean, that falls into that whole frame of not safe for work comics,
right?
And then being like, I'm waiting for Kickstarter's got to be like, that's $1 million seller. No.
Right.
But if they're going to say no to that one, you can't allow them to cancel these other smaller guys.
That's right.
You know?
Right. Right.
So it's going to be an interesting fight.
Right.
It's interesting too, because it hasn't been across the board, right? It seems like a few. So it's weird.
Huh.
All right. We have one more right before we pick up the conversation again. Luke Henderson is joining us for actually the very first time. So welcome, Luke. Welcome to the Wine and Comics Pairing Show for the first and last time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Unfortunate that it's my first and last appearance here.
Absolutely. I know. Timing, such as it is. Yeah, Luke reached out to me and he's like, hey, I want to get on a future show. And I'm like, nope. I'm like, not really. Kind of.
Now,
we might
Luke.
be able to squeeze you in. Yeah, we might be able to squeeze on this one. But Luke, so we were just covering, and John, we're going to pick back up the Zoop conversation here in just a minute because that is interesting, and I have a few comments on that. But real quickly, Luke, what do you have going on right now? Let us know.
So I've got my own Kickstarter comic launching on Friday. It's called Summer's Inn: Tales of Heartbreak. It's a collection of 2 short comics that me and a couple colleagues have written. That we had actually written them for a previous anthology that got canceled, and we just didn't want these stories to die. So they're both action romance pieces. One of them is a superhero breakup drama story. Yeah, basically, there's a superhero called the Smear who he gave his ex her superpowers, and now they've broken up, and he wants them back.
That's funny.
Okay.
He also has a boyfriend too, so that's putting a wrinkle in things.
Nice.
I like
Interesting. Yeah. Like, I want my stuff back. Okay, so when you said gave her powers, I was thinking like an STD kind of a thing, but it's like, oh, you mean he like gave it away, like he gave like a gift? Okay,
No,
that's
like
Spider-Man Rain.
Yeah, it's like the Adam parallel. He gave her the rib.
Like the world's most expensive sweater he wants back.
Right, exactly.
And then
oh my god! Well, I just put the link to the pre-launch page in the comments for everyone who's watching as well.
Thank you. And then my story is a kind of a sci-fi story on a distant world where there are aliens that are fire people and ice people, and that kind of started as a joke just because I thought it'd be funny to see someone who's made of fire and ice hug each other. Then see what would happen there. But it's a kind of a play on Romeo and Juliet. These two these 2 soldiers are in love with each other, and they have to meet in secret, and they find out that they are going to have to fight each other to the death on the next day in order to end the war. So they have to choose between their relationship or the armies that they're a part of.
Yeah, you choose a relationship, of course.
All right.
You have to get the book to find out.
There you go. And all the links there in the chat. Kenrick, your pre-launch page is not up yet. I couldn't find it. So I'm assuming it's
not up yet. Yeah, because I'll have it up this week. I got lazy and started working on other things and then realized, oh shoot, I didn't get my pre-launch page done. So I'll have it up this week, and then we'll send it out. All right.
Well, everyone,
I knew you guys were planning this final episode, but then I saw the post today and I was like, oh shit, it's going to be weird that you guys aren't doing this.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little transition. It's going to be a little transition getting over the not broadcasting our amazing faces to the world and our ridiculous opinions to the world every week. But we got some other things coming, so stay tuned for the podcast and a few other iterations.
That'll be fun. Yeah. That'll be fun.
All right, and just so you know, guys, I'm just going to put the title, Supernatural Baby Detective, Kenrick. That is the title of the thing. Go to Kickstarter, search for it. You'll find you'll find the first campaign. You can follow Kenrick, and then you'll know when it drops or when it launches. Or take a look at the first campaign, see if it interests you. You never know. We all have varied tastes, and a supernatural baby detective, a surprisingly
we're all fans
serious
of one of those things, right?
Exactly.
A Lovecraftian tale of an actual baby detective is like, I highly recommend it. But it's different. You're gonna take a look at this campaign page to make sure that it's gonna be for you. But it's fantastic. It's wild.
It was a weird experience writing that, because it didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to be until I sat down and it just kind of, you know what I mean, came out, and I was like, oh, this is so different than I thought it was going to be.
Real quick, what about the merch? I'm assuming you have some diapers that are marketed towards the Supernatural Baby Detective audience.
Adult diapers. Or baby, like, your choice, your size. You get to choose your size.
Right, exactly.
I was thinking about just doing like
buying it, they might want
tumblers and all that kind of stuff. I haven't really thought through the merch. I don't think I'm going to do any type of real marketing blitz like that until I have all 4 issues out. Because I feel like
for the trade campaign.
Yeah, because issue 1 is great. It's a self-contained story in a lot of ways up until up until Frank dies, which doesn't really give away anything, but Frank dies when you start reading it. You'd be like, oh, he's going to die at some point.
Frank dies.
And then issue 2 kind of delves a little bit more into the Easter Bunny and what his role is and what's going on there.
You heard that right, people. The Easter Bunny.
Yeah. And then 3 and 4 is going to be very much the culmination of Frank and the Easter Bunny's, upcoming battle scenes, I guess you could say. Maybe not so much a battle, but head to head.
I'm going to add to your merch pile here. I'm going to suggest you do a line of pacifiers that actually have a cigarette dangling.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
So
yeah, I want to get a bubble.
I give you gold. Do with it what you will.
Yeah, I wanted to get like squirt guns that do bubbles instead.
Yeah.
Because on issue 2, right now I have 3 covers for issue 2. I got one Rick Bugby, just like. I guess Johnny knows Rick. I don't know Rick, and he just liked the issue enough that he just drew a cover for us, and it looks amazing.
Very cool.
And then, and then we have a Adventures in Babysitting homage.
Oh yeah.
And then we have Ram's standard cover, and they all turned out good. But once I get through all 3 or all 4 issues, and I'm working on the trade paperback, I think that's when we'll do more of it, because it'll be the story will be complete.
Yeah.
I think people will really get into it once they have, like, you hear the title and you just think, oh, I don't know if I can get into seeing a baby do detective work. And it's like, well, you really have to read it because it's yes, it's called Supernatural Baby Detective. Yes, there's a baby in it that is detecting supernatural things, but there's a whole reason and a whole causality that's happening. And and really at the end of the day, the story is about family. And so when you get through that and you start reading it, you're like, oh, I totally start to get it and why it's the way it is. So I think once I get to that point, I'll have more of a, I'll have more of a fan base, for lack of a better term, and then go.
I think that's smart. I think, people go hard into the merch early on, and then you end up spend a lot of your time creating the merch, paying for it. Once after that first issue, and I think it's a really good idea to do that first issue as kind of a complete story, because then you'll know if people, that's what we tried to do with Drumsticks and Doom as well. Like, let's see if we have, some fire under this, and then we'll get into the crazy stuff like drumsticks and, buttons.
Right.
We got a comment from Richard Fairgray.
You can always.
Uh-oh.
Sell baby wipes with our codes.
With our codes.
I gotta write these down. I mean,
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. We give you gold here. I am
literally going to write these down.
All free stuff.
It's all gonna be.
And by Phantasmagoria. That is the anthology that is currently up there.
Yep.
Yes, QR typo.
All right, we figured it out.
You can even carry the baby wipes around.
So
with you
so you have a baby wipe with
scan this QR code while you're at it.
Yeah, exactly. I like that one, Luke.
Oh, I love it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I thought I was cool, and I did
Kenrick so diligently, just like penning that down.
I did. I totally wrote this down because those are cool. I did the pen, right? I did the
all right.
The pen, and I thought no one did a pen, and then I come out and like everybody does
a pen. Yeah.
Everybody does a pen. I do think you can always luck out and be like a Carissa Grant, or trying to think of the one. Now, I don't know. Maybe she didn't start till issue 2 or 3, but like the level of merch she has now for her comics is like, I
never seen anything like
there's
it.
more like, yes.
Yeah. No, I
can't find words. I am dumbfounded.
Probably on
I'm
issue
speechless.
4.
Yeah,
so I didn't.
4, John.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to see her early on, but yeah, she and I have become friends. She's actually the one who recommended the manufacturers for our new merch.
Yeah, nice.
So she really
her plushies. She has like a half dozen plushies at least, maybe if not an even dozen at this point, and they all sell like hotcakes. And it's just like, what is happening? So I think you can find the right property maybe where it's just like that's the right fan base, that's the right readership, and they gobble that stuff up. But if you're doing anything a little weirder, and I'm going to go ahead and say, like, I know Kenrick and John's work, and they're a little weirder. Like, they're a little more off the beaten path, just enough that it's like, you got to take that time to establish that readership to, like, before the merch is really going to...
100%. Yeah, because I don't honestly. I know that what I like, and I think I know the kind of person that will like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you like Hellboy, you like Constantine, there's a good chance you'll like this book. But at the same time, until you grow an audience that
That's right.
is significantly talking about it and writing reviews on it and you know what I mean, and asking questions about it, it's hard to tell exactly
You don't
what's
know.
going
Can't
to
gauge.
hit it off. Yeah. Travis Webb has that Starlight, and their first book sold like crazy, and their second book did not, until he got some advice, and they said that's because your character, whether you want her to be the main character or not, is that girl right there with the bunny ears, or the I can't remember the name of the character right now, but that's your main character. And then they started putting her on
with
every
the monster
cover.
with the monster in her, right?
Yeah, they started putting her on the cover of everything. Then their book took off and sold like hotcakes.
Yeah,
So,
and I'll tell you, I took a long time to come around to it.
I can't remember the name of that either.
I didn't even do a variant on a book until Drumsticks of Doom in 2021.
Yeah.
So I had been doing it for 12 years, and because I despise variants, I think. But
Me too. I hate variants.
I came to the point where I realized, let the audience decide. It's not about what you like, but put a couple things out there, as long as you're not, I don't know, spending $10,000 for one variant cover. You throw things out there and you see what works, and it really has carried the book. And then it was like, all right, now you got to stop being an old man, do some hit buttons, do some patches, see what other things are out there. But again, like you said, Dave, make it make sense for the book.
Yes.
Make it something you enjoy. Don't force yourself, but you do want to kind of, you do got to branch out a little bit, and it isn't just for you. Let the audience decide what they want,
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people do, I hear metal covers are great, so I'm doing metal covers. And then they buy where they have to get so many minimum count, and they only sell 2, so then they're stuck with 23. Metal covers make sense for my heavy metal comics, so that's why I do it. I don't do it for every book.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to stick to that as much as I can. But then again, I'm also doing a plushie, so I'm a total sellout. So what do I
know? Well, and a metal cover for a metal book is so thematically on point that know people won't be able to resist, and so you will do well on those metal covers. But out of curiosity, Luke, because we don't know a lot about your campaign coming up or any previous campaigns you've done, are you much of an alternate cover merch guy?
This is my 5th campaign I've done, and this will be the first time I have variant covers.
There it is.
Yeah.
Man,
nice.
Nice, man.
Yeah, I have we got 2 covers by the artist who did the interiors, and then I got a spicy cut double cover that I commissioned by an artist I like. Her name's Kimorian King. She's just got a very kind of painted look to her. She's more popular on Webtoon than anything, and I actually think her own campaign week coming up.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. So let's get to, and now I know John and Kenrick, I don't know. I think maybe I mentioned it to John. Kenrick, you came in so suddenly and impromptu. You probably didn't know this, but let's actually start with you, because you might be the most on a timeline here.
Yeah, I got to go.
What we're doing 5 minutes here. Okay, perfect. What we're doing here today is we are shouting out one of our favorite final issues of a comic of all time. What is one of your favorite final issues of a comic? And I'll give you a couple minutes to think about that if you think you need a couple minutes.
Yeah, give me 2 minutes.
All right.
I have to think about it.
All right. We'll chatter amongst ourselves.
We'll chatter amongst ourselves. We'll actually move over to John. You're to the right of Kenrick on my screen. What is one of your favorite final issues of all time?
Well, I can honestly say that I forgot what the question was until you said it a few minutes ago. And the first thing that came to mind, and it may be because it is my favorite comic of all time. If I tilt my camera this way, you can probably see all my Max merchandise there in the background.
Oh,
yeah. It is the Max.
I'll make you big. Hold on.
Oh.
The Max.
You can see my
oh no, that's good. The Max. The Max.
Oh, we're good. The Max.
We all know the
comic.
Max.
It's by my favorite illustrator. Say what you will about the writing of the comic. It's interesting. It took a very interesting journey. But the last issue it's very strange, like the whole series. For those who haven't read it, I won't spoil it for you. It's not a long series. Go read it, catch up. But there's kind of a way
issues,
that
I think, right?
35, yeah. And I think there was a half
35. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just it just fits so well with the bizarre story that he was telling, the way he kind of wraps it all up with the characters. And it starts off as a superhero book, very much in line with a lot of the other Image Comics books. And then Sam Keith just takes it and his partner William Messner Loeb's in this very strange direction. And the last issue is the same. And why it comes to mind as my favorite last issue, you know, it's my favorite series, my favorite character by my favorite illustrator, but it also it's the ending that taught me that comics can and probably should be very strange. I was very shocked as a child when or as a young man when the Max went to TV, because I knew that they couldn't finish the series because it was so weird.
Wait, the Max went to TV?
It was on MTV. Did it on their
Liquid television?
Liquid
Yeah,
TV.
it was an
that's
animated
right.
show. It
That's
was
right.
huge.
That's
It was-
right. Liquid TV.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Liquid TV. Right.
And yeah, it was.
Yeah, the
I just knew
MTV
because
generation
the series is so weird.
fucking
There's
loved
no
that
way
thing.
they would have had to change the ending, but they were still using stills from the show, so from the comic, you know, to do a lot of the animation.
Right.
And, because I knew a lot of comics just don't fit in any other medium, and the Max is, again, for me as a young person, was like, oh my god, this is. It just opened my, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, Spider-Man and Superman and these ongoing stories. You can make the weirdest thing you want because it's your comic book. And that's really what Sam did. Once he had the success, he kind of just went off the rails. And again, you could say what you want. Some of it made sense, some of it didn't. And to me, that didn't matter. It had a very satisfying ending because it kind of stuck to its guns that it was a weird book. So that was the first one that popped to mind. If I had longer to think about it, another might come to mind, but that was definitely the one.
Well, if you keep sitting here and you want to shout out any other, feel free. I will just comment briefly on the Max because I have read the entire thing and I collected it in single issues back in the day, all the way to the bitter end, which took a fucking long time because especially in those final 10-ish issues, like, they were coming out like sometimes like once every 4 to 6 months. Like it was slow, so like you really had to wait for those final issues. But the Messner Loebs was writing it up to about 25 or something like that. So he was the script writer, plotting it with Keith, and you know the story being hashed out between the two of them. But he really had, when he was writing those issues, I mean, it was on another level. It was weird, but it worked in this way that you could not put your finger on. But it was still so captivating. And admittedly, I think Keith struggled when he booted Messner Loebs, and he was like, I want to make this just my own thing for you know, however long this lasts beyond this. Because I think they argued over how to, where to go from there and how to wrap it up. And there was some kind of falling out. I don't pretend. I watched some videos on this once upon a time, but I've already forgotten the details. But I remember that, you know, it definitely wasn't as perfect in those final issues as it was up to that point. Like Keith was struggling a little more than he was with Messner Loebs, but I do remember that final issue feeling apropos. Like there's something about it that it was just like, you know what? Yeah, that worked. And that was a beautiful place to end it, to just like make it final and to walk away. Like I was very sad. I can't remember why. I would need to reread the series. It has been since that issue came out, since I've read the whole thing. But something I do remember feeling very satisfied with it as a final issue. So if there is anything to detract about it, I would need to read the series as a whole to see like what was missed or what people's arguments might be for why it wasn't a good ending. But it felt very good at the time. So yeah,
I agree.
All right, Kenrick, you want to jump in here while you still have a few minutes?
Yeah, so mine's not the final issue of an actual series of books because I can't think of anyone of, you know what I mean, that's ended and everything. But when I was a kid, my favorite, I was a Marvel kid growing up. And in 87, 88 is when Kraven's Last Hunt came out. And I collected that off the shelf. So I would read them as they go. And that, I think it was, I want to say Spectacular Spider-Man.
It was by week.
Yeah, well, because it went across.
They were
Spider-Man,
between
the Spider-Man, and
two titles.
Spectacular
yeah,
Spider-Man.
3 titles. Yeah. So it was just 2 months. Yeah, it was like 2 months and it was over. Yeah.
Yeah, and the last book where Craven actually, spoiler alert, it's been 40 years, so you should know it by now. When Craven actually kills himself, I think I was 13, 14 years old, and it was like I had read Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and that was good.
Oh, okay.
It was like the first serious comic book I read.
Right.
But this one to me felt like it took it up a notch, and the psychological horror of it, you know what I mean, and then the fact that it ends on Craven killing himself, you're just like, what the fuck did I just read? And how did I even like what?
Right. Having a character be that psychologically in such like a depth of depression and despair, and like he was acting out yet still had to like do this one last act and then end his life. And it was, it's you don't want to necessarily say like it was so real to life. It's like it was still Spider-Man and Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, it was still Spider-Man.
Nevertheless, right. But that was such a like true blue depression and like psychological like how people get messed up in the head. And being like, if you were someone like Kraven the fucking Hunter in real life, you would get this messed up. Like this is what these people would actually be. And I know that's almost a cliche now, but at the time it was the first. These were the first writers, that were playing with this, like that idea that Batman might be a little psycho too, and things like that. Like that was a new thought.
It was the first real story of Spider-Man being more of an adult. He had gone through college. He had just gotten married, and this whole thing is. And these are the stories that I want to see. Like when they're doing the movies, it's always him in high school again, and it's always in high school again, and it's always in high school again. It's like, dude, the ones that came out in the late '80s were really, really good because it was the same scope of Spider-Man from the 1960s all the way to the late 80s. That was one storyline. You know what I mean? And it was him growing up, and now he is married and he goes through. And the only thing that drives me nuts is he went through this horrific thing. He should be so claustrophobic now because of this experience. And they don't play into it. And I really wish they would. But I think for me, that was it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that
so
for me, as I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, that he was my first favorite. He was who I really read. But that was after I came in, Eric Larson, David Michelini era.
Great stuff.
And went back to that
Spider-Man,
later, and I was like, holy crap! Like, I really felt like them undoing that. They undid one of the best, what should have been an evergreen story. I mean, I know it's a very serious subject. I'm a social worker by day. I don't take it lightly that you write such serious things in a book, but I do think it really fit. Whereas, like you said, now it's more cliche. Like when Kevin Smith did it with Mysterio, it was I felt it was very corny and very forced. Whereas I felt like with Craven, it made sense. What J.M. DeMatteis crafted in those issues made sense. And then obviously his previous history. What is he without his purpose? He is nothing.
Right.
And even the Vermin, kind of background story, kind of worked in kind of making, the story even a little bit.
They took a C character that nobody really knew and made him scary and made him like you were like you got vested in what was going on.
Which is what Todd McFarlane tries to do in the Lizard arc, and that doesn't work because again, it's just JM's maybe a little bit more mature writer. I don't know, but he seems to.
Well, and it's almost like calling back to the thing that's already been done at that point, right? And you're just sort of like, I mean, you're like, okay, they're doing it slightly not as good because I mean, let's face it, the art.
All right, Kendrick, sorry. Take care, bud.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
to see you. Thanks for showing up.
Can't wait for the new podcast.
Sounds
Talk
good.
to you soon.
Yeah, it's out already. Go look for it. Wine and.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hog.
It is already.
The whole show either.
No, go ahead.
That's how I felt about J.M. DeMatteis's Spider-Man 400, which I actually had gotten out of comics for a while and then went back and read that. And the death of Aunt May also should have stuck. It was very perfect for the character, very emotionally fit. So again, as the end of an arc or whatever that was at that time, I think that fits in the conversation too, because he was a great Spider-Man writer.
Just FYI there, John. For the next time you write a metal comic, that's a great band name, The Death of Aunt May. But continue.
maybe I'll throw that in.
Well,
but I don't like when they go back. I know how comics work, right? But when they undo those ones that just really hit, it's like it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with you. Two things I want to add to that. One, Spectacular Spider-Man 200, Death of Harry Osborn Jr. That is also because that was the other like villain, like slowly. I mean, that arc was so good they put it into the Raimi movies, right? I mean, that was like what the Raimi movies were really about, all through the three of them. And that was, even though he had just done a Spider-Man villain, not, kind of slowly going insane, he did it again with Harry Osborn Jr., did it in a totally different way with a totally different kind of character, and it still blew everyone. I mean, that is one of the best arcs for me personally, even greater than Craven was shocked, like came out of absolutely nowhere, like that arc with him, where you're just like, I agree with you, what just happened? Or I agree with Kendrick when he said that, what just happened? What did I just read? With the Harry thing, it was a little more slow burn and a little more long archy. But man, what an incredible arc. And that stuck with me. And when they undid not just undid the death of Aunt May, but then the whole, like, when I quit Marvel, when I quit Spider-Man especially, was the One More Day or whatever that thing was, where they undid the marriage. And it's just sort of like, we're going back to Peter as a swinging single. And I'm like, why? Like, why? Why are we going back to this? No one's asking you. Ultimate Spider-Man currently exists. Yes, we don't need this also. Like, for fuck's sake, just stick to your guns.
Yeah.
But I was out after that because I'm like, well, I read my Spider-Man. I guess I'm giving it back to the next generation. So
I hung in quite a bit longer. I think I bowed out at issue 700. When he became Superior Spider-Man, that was finally. I said, "All right, I gave you a chance through a couple of transitions, and now I've, like you said, I've read my Spider-Man. I still love him and the character and all the people who've created him, but I don't need it anymore."
Yeah. All right, Luke, favorite final issue.
So it took me a while to pick one because. But what I ultimately ended up doing was just thinking about which series that I actually remember having a final issue that impacted me, and The Walking Dead was the thing that I decided to pick.
Okay, yeah.
It's just it's so well done, and there's so much packed into that final issue. It's more of an epilogue than anything, like the big
tying up all the characters, tying up everything that was still
Yeah, well,
which issue did it end on? I think I stopped around 100.
150-ish?
Oh, wow, it didn't go that much long.
Say, I'm not completely sure. I've only read it in the compendiums, so I've got the big
Gotcha.
But that last issue is just so great because, like, in the issue before, like, Rick dies, and you're like, well, what's going to happen next? And then it's suddenly the next, like, 20 years in the future. And, yeah, it does a great job of wrapping everything up. What the world's like after all this, but it doesn't feel like a montage where it's just like, here's this person. Like, there's one last story to tell with adult Carl.
Wow. Yeah, 193 it looks like. Wow.
Right.
And I didn't realize.
And I was wrong. 193. It made it to 193.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that too. I see that he didn't give any announcement or anything. It was just like, it's over. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and he took that in the back of the compendium and kind of after, like, it's just, the story just kind of felt like it was done, so we quit.
Yeah, he did the same thing with Invincible too. So I don't know if maybe he he was just on to other things, but how long can that series go on?
And in both cases, wasn't he like close? Yeah, and in both cases, wasn't he like close? Like 193, you're like, why wouldn't you end it on issue 200? Like, on that issue that everyone would expect you to end it on if you were going to end it. Like, get to that nice round number. And I think Invincible was the same way. Like, it was kind of close to like just a few issues away from something. And he was just sort of like, nah, it's done here. And but I do appreciate that, and I do respect it hugely. Like, you're not just going for like, okay, we're 10 issues away from issue 200, so let's pad this out to make it to issue 200 or come up with a few more things to like pepper it into. You're just like, nah, these are all the ideas that I really give a shit about, so we're done. And
that's what I was saying with the Max. Like,
that feels good.
Yeah, people should do that more often. Like, in TV shows, you can look and see how many episodes, right? Well, I know The Acolyte's going to end on episode 8, so let me just wait for the end. Or Game of Thrones. Comics, you can change on any. He could have ended it on the first page and had 20 pages of ads, and everybody would have been, like, play with the medium. There's still a lot
creator owned and indie comics. Not when you're Marvel DC. The problem is you've got that Yeah, year long, like, you know, we've greenlit you for 12 issues, so it's 12 fucking issues. Like, we might not go past the next 12 issues, but you know you're doing those next 12 or however many we've given you. And then you've got to go from there. So, yeah, and I feel like a lot of my runner-up. So, first off, before me and Dallas get to our final issues, just in case either of you need to go at any given time, what would you drink with your final issue? What would you drink with the final issue of the Max, John? Think about that for a minute. And Luke, what would you drink with the final issue of The Walking Dead?
I think I have my answer right, because the final issue of The Walking Dead ends on an image of Carl reading to his daughter, like in a rocking chair. So I think you would have to drink something that you're just going to want to sip and savor, because that's really how the series ended. Like, it ended kind of happily ever after, but it's more so that Carl's just like, these are the things I care about now. And so this is what matters to me is my daughter. So you got to want something you really love. So like maybe like a really nice old whiskey, just something you can just sip and you can enjoy for a while.
All right. Like that. Yeah. We love a good whiskey here.
Beautiful.
Well, for me, the Max kind of was, you know, again, the first, what again I consider an independent book at the time that really, you know, pulled me away from big comics and things like that. So to me, it represents my youth and growing up. And like Dave said, it took a long time to finish, so I was able to enjoy it or you know, struggle through it until my adulthood. So it's kind of a weird book. I think I might have some Hawaiian Punch, some Kool-Aid, something like that. Savor the youth of when I started reading issue 1 at 12 years old.
Crazy.
I might just kind of soak it in because again, the way that one ends, again, spoilers for anybody who hasn't read a 30-year-old book, they kind of go to an alternate universe and you don't know who remembers what actually happened because they decide together that the only way, you know, they can get through all the trauma they've been through together is to forget. So you don't really know. So again, you're kind of starting over.
Right.
And to be, I'd kind of want to go back and just kind of think about that. I've only read through the series twice, and partly because, you know, I did feel like, you know, it was so satisfying. I don't necessarily want to go back and nitpick it. I just want to remember the book that really launched me into really reading so many different comics.
It's best to leave things where you you know, where you encounter them sometimes. I do that a lot. I do that
100%. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what I was drinking when I was reading the Max. Probably root beer would be the drink of choice for that one for me. And you know what? Root beer, it's like it's got that sarsaparilla-y flavor, right? It's like a little adult-like. It's like a little something more from your comics, but still kiddie. And so it's like you're still in that youth, you're still doing the comics, but then you're getting that little something more. So yeah, I could do my teen drink, which was 100% root beer. All right. Cool.
Those are good.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say, Luke?
I just said root beer and fruit punch. Those are good nostalgia drinks right there.
Oh yeah. 100%.
100%. All right, so Dallas, what is your final issue? Bring it on.
All right, so this is the thing, boys. I like to throw curveballs every now and then. I've done it with the wine and pairing. I think I was the first one to go outside the box and pair a tequila with something. And I decided
you're the more daring of us. It's true.
I guess so. I suppose so. I decided to go with.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Go on. And I decided to go with what ostensibly is a final issue, but is the only one in the series. So
United #1.
No, God, no. But this is actually a graphic novella, and it is done. The entire thing is done in sketchboard. If you guys have kept up with us, you probably heard me discuss a graphic novel masterwork by Troy Little called Chiaroscuro, and it is easily my favorite graphic novel, full volume of all time. It is stark. It is all done in grayscale, black and white. It is just so emotional and emotive and dense and haunting and confusing. And to your point, John, earlier about sort of the weirdness of the comic kind of medium, being able to kind of take these ideas that don't work anywhere else and give them life. I had to go with something that was a little outside of the box and sort of typified and exemplified that. This is The Forest by Thomas Ott. As I said, it's 25 pages, but it is
Thomas O-T-T. Yeah.
O-T-T.
Okay.
O-T-T. Thomas Ott.
Huh.
It's a is it a
Fantagraphics?
It is Fantagraphic, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't even know how to honestly, I don't even know how to discuss the book. It's kind of one of those things that just like slapped me in the face, kicked me in the nuts. Can I say nuts? We're gonna say nuts.
I think we've said fuck already on this show. But yeah, we're gonna say nuts.
Because there isn't a single word in the entire book. Not a single word, except for the dedication to my love.
But it's still, yeah.
It is the art
That is pretty.
just so insane. I mean, essentially, it's the story of this kid who is at a wake in a little small country town, and he gets overwhelmed, so he decides to walk, and wander into the woods. And once he walks into the woods, he starts encountering all these sort of entities, and they're all very comforting. And this one particular entity sort of plays very intensely with him, and eventually the kid goes back. He has a few sort of light bulb watershed moments, and he goes back, and we realize, it's his grandfather who's dead. It is so haunting, but also fantastical. It the images just have such potency. It's just I have difficulty describing it, and I know I really enjoy something when I have difficulty describing it. And it's been one of these pieces. Yeah, right.
We're both horribly pretentious that way.
That's 100%. It's sinister, but it's also really comforting, and it's terrifying. Thomas Ott has a pretty deep well of product out there, and this one really kicked me in the balls, and I had to have it. I had to own it. It is perfection. So yeah, I did stretch the definitions, confines of final issue, but if I wanted to pass on a love of comics and make sure the individual understood its potential, I would put this in their hands, and that's kind of how I approached this. So
yeah, I don't know how I missed that one.
Okay.
I definitely try to pay attention to the Fantagraphics, but I just ordered it from him, so I got to.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
obviously the scratch board art alone, is a high sell.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. I looked him up, and I have read another book by him, the Cinema Panopticon.
Yes,
is the one. I'm like, oh, I remember that one. I read that back in the day, but it has been quite some time. So awesome. And what are you drinking?
So, to review our pairings, usually I take either the pairing, the wine I would want to drink as a character in the world, or the wine or a spirit I would enjoy on the couch as I'm reading passively. And this time, when I first read this, I curated a little charcuterie board because I reread it 6 or 7 times, I think, 5 or 6 times. Because again, it's only 25 pages. There's a single word in it. So reading is a stretch, but it's more contemplative, I suppose. And in order to fully enjoy a deep charcuterie board, one needs a red that holds up to the fats of the cured meats and the cheeses and the nuts and the sort of berries, and a good Pinot Noir does that very well. And I actually went with this Hua. Oh, there we are.
You can't really
do this.
Spell that.
H-U. There we are. H-U-I-A.
Oh, there it is. H-U-I-A.
Which is a Marlborough, New Zealand Pinot. It is pretty highly tannic, and holds up to the deep, rich flavors of a charcuterie board. And you know, you can. Again, I'm not a huge Pinot guy. This is the second time I've recommended a Pinot, and actually, this company, this vineyard has made both of those.
Maybe you are a huge Pinot guy.
Hey, calm down, buddy. Calm down. But yeah, that's a pairing.
I'm saying he says that every time that he brings a Pinot on.
Oh, it's been twice. Calm down. So yeah, that's my pair. That's my final pairing for sure. Final.
Beautiful. All right.
What you got, Dave?
So for me,
you got 15. You have 15 wines. I'm sure.
One whole flight.
One wine.
One. Oh,
nope.
Oh.
I have one. I am gonna shout out some backup. I am going to shout out some backup final issues, but not different wines. So I will say that there are some final issues in terms of, I don't think, like in terms of final issues from like runs of creators on, but it's not really the final issue of the comic. So I ignored those for the most part, but some of those are brilliant. I would love to shout, but you know, I can shout out a million there. I can also, from Vertigo runs, like things like the final issue of Preacher. Preacher is one of my all-time favorites, and I think the final issue of that one tied up that story. So
you know what's
perfectly.
crazy? That was going to be my sort of conventional version. Yeah.
Well, that's my backup as well. But I went for something kind of like Kenrick did, and a little bit like, and kind of like John did actually. Both from my teen years, from my childhood, and this is the one. It's a proper Marvel comic. And it's a proper final 50th and final issue of a run. And it's a run. This character is still my big 2 favorite character of all time. I cannot justify that from any sort of objective platform whatsoever. He is not the best character from most objective POVs. But for me, he will forever be my darling. And that is Darkhawk.
It's Moon Knight.
It has to be issue number 50 of Darkhawk. This is it, the final issue. All right. Hilarious.
So I only made it to about 16 with Darkhawk, so tell me how it ended.
I think I did 2.
So I did all 50, and there's a couple. Oh, and fun thing. In the very back, they have this thing of like what the original for Darkhawk was, and it was like this Egyptian looking thing with the helmet and like almost Hawkman like, and I was like, that's cool. I like what they went with instead. But so when this issue came out, I had no idea it was ending. I did not know until I looked at the cover, and they were just like, this is it, the final issue. And it was my favorite comic book of all the years it ran, and I was devastated. I was completely like, I mean, my heart sank, and it was one of those like, it's like when you open the door and someone breaks up with you. I mean, it was like that you don't see coming, right? And you're just sort of like, they have that, and you're laid off from a job. Like, it was one of those moments in my life. And of course, I'm so young. I hadn't been dating. I hadn't had a job yet. So like before any of those happened, this was my heart sink moment, where it's like that shock and heart sink at the same time. So it affected me hugely. I still loved this series, even though I will freely admit the first 25 issues are kind of a perfect comic book series. You can end at number 25 and just walk away, and probably you should. But 26 through 50 was a different artist. Mike Manley was the original artist on the comic, and his art was he was amazing. I cannot speak more highly of Mark Manley. I'm sorry, Mike. Actually, I have.
There you go.
I know. I have a signed issue 2 of Darkhawk from Manley himself, right there. Right, and so nice and framed there.
Pray.
Yeah, Hobgoblins Pray, baby. Right from the get-go, they were like, yeah, get Spider-Man in there. This guy, we need to make this guy popular. Like, no one knows who the fuck this guy is.
He had to cross over with Venom at some point,
Absolutely. I make artists do Darkhawk sketches every time they do any sort of commissions. I'm like, you're doing Darkhawk. This is Rafer Roberts, the Plastic Farm, and
nice. I love
Rafer. So yeah, I had him do Darkhawk, and I still love. This is one of my favorite little sketches, because he just did this on a sketch card, and I'm like, dude, this is a great Darkhawk. Good job, man. But I always I have like 5 or 6 of those like lying around. But so how it ends is this was a double-sized issue. It had about, you could tell I think the creative team was told kind of last minute this was going to be the final issue, and they got a double-sized issue to do it. But there were so many dangling plot threads, and they were like, oh, all right, 2 pages per plot thread, go. And it was just like, let's hit them, and let's go. Now, it still is a proper cool send-off. I mean, you right from the get-go, you open up and you get all these different characters, all the supporting characters, and they're like, introduce them, get them involved. Splash page, get all the I gotta make sure, which way am I turning this? There we go.
Get the A-listers, maybe Speedball.
All the A-listers and splash page and double splash page, and it's a huge spaceship going over New York City. But then it starts to get super like right from there it gets like super dense, and it's like 8 panels per page, lots of writing, just da 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 da. So it's like they have a lot to wrap up, but it's an epic send-off. They wrap up all the final mysteries. They had a lot of family drama because he was also like Spider-Man, like Peter Parker. They made him a teenager. By the time the series wrapped, he was like 19 or 20, like finally just getting into that slight young adulthood type of a thing. But he still had lots of family drama. He was still living at home, so on and so forth. I don't know if I can tell you how it ends without just explaining the whole fucking series to you, because it is complex. It is a lot. The first 25 issues, I will say, I still recommend those for anyone, all the way up to which finally reveals his big origin. I know they've retconned his origin a number of times since then in the proper cosmic Annihilation Nova Marvel, where they've made him very different than what this OG series did. But this OG series was one of my favorites, and one of the best parts of the series that they have still not addressed, I don't believe, in the Marvel universe, is that at one point he visited the future, and the teenager's name is Chris Powell, and they visited the future, and they called him, they were like, and he was in Darkhawk, but they're like, it's the Powell, and that was their name for him. And apparently at some point he saves the entire universe, not galaxy, universe, from destruction, and that is his destiny, is to be one of the greatest heroes to ever live. Still hasn't happened, but I'm still waiting for that moment. And
I'm telling you, Dave, I'm telling you, I think we have another project. Script writing and screenwriting is my medium, but I think we got a pitch to Marvel coming up.
And on this very final page, they give one last thing where they're looking at how this issue ends. And these are the people from the future, very Jack Kirby-like. And they're like, there goes the Powell. His greatest era is just about to begin. And that's where they sign off.
That's the name of the script.
I'm like, yeah.
That's the name of the series, the Powell.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right.
Wow.
So did and no experience with Darkhawk for either of you two, I'm assuming. Most people that's
2 issues. 2 issues.
I think I read the first dozen because Venom. I read it because it was like a new first issue, and then I read it up until Venom crosses over, and then I think Wild Thing. There was an issue with Wild Thing, and then I abandoned it. I might still have the issues.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You might.
I enjoyed it. I remember
those are very good issues, and then
I don't remember the Powell.
Perfect. I mean,
Powell.
No. That happens. That actually is introduced right after issue 25. I think it's like issue 26 to 28 or something that they finally introduced that. So it's in that second half that they finally get to that. It's the best part of the second half. The first half is all about what is this armor? What is he? Where did it come from? And you don't know when the series begins. And issues 1 through 25 are really the whole mystery. And then his dad disappears, and he was like undercover, but he's a part of something. There's a lot of mysteries in the first 25 issues that really strung me along. And issue 25 answers them all and like gets it all out of the bag. And it's actually really creative and really good, I think.
That's a classic approach. Yeah.
Yes. Fun fact. My Twitter handle is Son of Howl, right, with an H. And So Son of Howell is, so the teen's name is Christopher Powell, right? And Christopher is a derivation of Christ, which means son. And Powell is a derivation of Howell, which means the sun. So I was son of Howell, which is what Christopher Powell means if you get to the meaning of the name. And son of Howell means son of the sun, son of the sun. Yes.
The son of a sailor.
Yeah.
That is some deep ass nerd shit.
Welcome to the party, John.
You're ending the show. You're ending like Darkhawk. You're ending, leaving us on this huge thread. You've been this huge Darkhawk fan this whole time.
Exactly.
The truth
exactly.
revealed.
And if I ever do the one Marvel story, if I ever would get a chance to write for the big two, seriously, that Powell story, that is the only story I actually give a shit about telling. If they offered me anything else, I'd be like, I'm good. I don't know. I don't need to write that. I'm good. But that I would. So I am pairing. I'm just about to open this. But I couldn't quite. That issue came out in 1995, Darkhawk number 50. I could not find a 1995.
Wait, what year did it start, by the way?
92?
No,
90 or 91, because it would be about four years worth of comics. Because it would be 4 years and 2 months. Yeah. Okay. So it'd be like 90, 91. 91. So this was 95 that it ended, about summerish 95. And I do have and Petite Sirah is my favorite wine. So I was gonna go. I'm going fruit bomb, rough, hedonistic, dense, dark, baby, and my favorite, my all-time, like near and dear to my heart, like this comic is. And I have a 1997.
All
right.
David Bruce. Petite Sirah. David Bruce is the first wine I ever had that I liked. It's my gateway. It was my first number one. And I don't know for sure, but the first time I had it was around 2001 when I was waiting tables at a restaurant. And a 1997, it may have been the vintage. 97 or 98 is likely what the vintage was that I drank that year. So this is about as close as I'm ever going to get to that gateway vintage.
Right on the nose.
I'm going to see how this cork is doing. It could crumble apart. It's a 1997. This could crumble on me. It could be bad. I don't know.
It could be bad.
We're going to find out live. So here we go.
It could be bad.
Nice and gentle. Could be bad. I got to back up. I just got another red wine, just kind of chilling out here. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just drink that if this fails. Good. But I would want an old, still holding up well, 1990s Petite Sirah, because that's my celebration with my favorite comic of all time.
That's going to be
it's coming out easy. Yes.
Yeah? Let's see. Hold it up. Hold it up. There we go. Yeah. There you go.
It's coming out easy. Hold up.
Ooh. I don't know. That cork looks pretty dark.
Oh, it broke.
It broke.
Well, it was really wet. Yeah. You see that? And so where it was wet here, and then it snapped in half. So I got to try this again for the other half. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. Oh man.
Like Darkhawk, you may never get your final story.
That's right.
Son of Powell.
Well, what happens is you just push it into the bottle if all else fails.
Right. Like a savage.
Is it good?
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Not gonna make it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got it.
Got it, motherfucker.
Uh-oh. Let me see the cork. Let me see the edge of the cork.
It was starting to break apart as I was pulling it, and it was like threatening.
Hold up the edge of the cork there.
No. Hold up the bottom piece.
Hold up the bottom piece of the cork there, Dave. Let's see. Oh, okay. Uh-oh.
Why? That looks like Petite Sirah. That's how young Petite Sirah looks, man.
Uh-oh.
Why?
Uh-oh. What's the nose? Give it a sniff. What we got?
Well,
this is nerve-wracking.
This is exciting. Exciting cinema.
I didn't bring a wine glass.
You want to end the show?
Drink out of the bottle.
Hold on. I gotta
chug it.
I gotta get a wine glass. Hold on.
Well, while he gets a wine glass, some of the other ones like that I've remembered. I don't know if you've read Fear Agent.
No, actually, who was on? Someone recommended that the last couple of weeks ago.
Very good. Had some starts and stops. Went to a couple different companies. So it took a little while. You can kind of feel that in the issues, but I think it kind of works. And then it has a very, very satisfying end. And one of those comics, like Scalped, is that way.
Mm-hmm.
Fable should have been that way. They should have bowed out at the natural end of the
much
arc,
sooner. Yeah,
but Fear Agent, he knew it was time, and he hasn't brought the character back. And yeah, some issues just kind of.
When did that end? Jeez.
Oh my gosh! It only had 36 issues, so it's probably 2005.
Four-ish volumes, or 4 or 5 volumes. Yeah.
4 or 5 volumes. Yeah. All right. What we got? Uh-oh.
We got.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's magic.
Okay.
He's full of shit. All right. He's got Darkhawk on the brain right now.
No.
He's up there in the sun.
All right, I can tell already. I should drink as much of this tonight though as possible.
Yes,
because it will oxidize fast.
Yeah.
But
you're gonna need to go through at least a third of that bottle.
Well, I was planning on having the whole bottle anyway.
I mean, it's past its prime. Don't get me wrong, but not by a lot. It is
fruit forward still. What you got?
Very mellow.
Yeah.
Say what?
Fruit
I mean,
forward,
we've got so this is on the lighter side of Petite Sirah. It's a 97, and I believe the alcohol in this is only 13%, which is pretty low for a Petite Sirah. And David Bruce's Napa.
After one glass.
Yeah.
Ranchita Canyon, which is Los Gatos. Where's Los Gatos?
I think it's east of Napa.
Is that like more Mendocino?
No, I think that's north of. Let's see. Los Gatos.
I'm gonna do a quick Google Map search.
All I know is I drove through California for the first time, and I was wondering why there's so many grape trees.
Grape trees. Lots
now
of
I know why, because you grape nerds keep them in business.
grape trees. Good job.
Okay, it's outside of San Jose, so yeah, not far from. Okay, Half Moon Bay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in that should be pretty cool climate. So yeah, this is
it is.
And it is very much it's still got this acidity to it. And it's a lighter color for a Petite Sirah. It's a little redder, much less purplier, which means it's got more acidity with that redder color. But it still has this little raspberry, almost like what are the hybrids of blackberry and raspberry? Like Marionberry or
Marionberries.
It's got a little bit of the red, a little bit of the black in there.
There's a mulberry probably in there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The reason I can tell this won't last long is the finish is very short. It's like you sip it and you're like, oh, that's good. And then it just like disappears off your palate like 1 second later. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, it's dying. It's dying. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't have long to go, but you know what? This is close to the year of my baby Darkhawk 50. And that'll still be that's my childhood, near and dear final.
Darkhawk, wow. Yeah. That's a D-Bell. Wow. Yeah.
There's a few of us out
I'd
there.
I'd like to list the 100 comics that I expected you to say, and Darkhawk was nowhere near, though.
Yeah, I would say Darkhawk was probably, now than that.
I was like, oh, he's going to go Silver Surfer, Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Those were final issues.
Yeah.
Darkhawk. Love it.
Good stuff. Good stuff, fellas. Oh, we got Blake Thomas Morgan, of course. Fear Agent is phenomenal. Comment there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I'm ignoring the comments. Sorry. Come in.
Well, just the one since, Richard.
Blake, you are also
just
phenomenal.
The one. Fear Agent is phenomenal from Blake Thomas Morgan. There you go. Thank you for being phenomenal, Blake. You have to you have to pick up all the leftovers that we are now leaving in our wake because we can't pick them up for you. So you gotta get more people on show. Go.
As usual.
Got to interview more people here.
On Blake.
Although we will likely be joining the new podcast is very likely. Like we've already. I can probably say it.
Yeah.
You can tell me to shut the fuck up, Blake, but I'm pretty sure it's okay to say that like we are talking of being a part, having the podcast still be a part of the Geek Network and part of Metal Ninja Studios overview and oversight of the Geek Network. And so we'll still be a part of things. We'll still be a part of what folks are doing. It just, the live streams won't be a thing anymore, which is sad. They had their place, but you know what? After a year of doing them also, I think me and Dallas are both one of those extroverted introvert types where, you know, being social takes it out of you. So it's like you can do it and you do really well being social, but then you need to recoup. So it's like
for a week.
Live stream,
Yes.
fun. Yeah, but now I'm like, okay, I need a break. I need a big break. Yeah. I'm like, it's been a lot.
Do that. That's why a lot of the live stream shows, it's hard to keep them going a long time. That energy.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
Yeah,
but I appreciate it. Any person like yours who's willing to talk with us creators, I'm sure you'll talk to many more, and hopefully the podcast will be less draining and more energizing.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, it's all been worth it. Just building this. I hate using the term community. My God, I want to bash my head against a brick wall when I use the term community. But building a little corner of the world, I don't know, building a little corner of the world that intersects comics and wine, which is kind of this thing we started in the middle of COVID because we were both losing our fucking minds in different ways, and separately had come to these sort of hobbies and then reconnected. For those who don't know, Dave and I had a former relationship where we started a company called Killing the Grizzly, which specialized in outsiders, sort of indie comics and proliferating those into other forms of media. And that went really well in the Hollywood sort of system. And then we spent some time away from one another and separately developed these two hobbies. Well, I mean, we always had the comics in common, but then we came to wine and on a whim reconnected and realized that we were both kind of having the same idea of doing some sort of intersection with wine and other hobbies. And this kind of thing took off, and then we started doing the live streams because of the situations we were in. And now we're getting back to that original purpose where we are branching out into pairing wine with movies and perhaps theater and books and songs. And so it is kind of a sad farewell.
We're doing it as a podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And a podcast because, I mean, look, videos, they're a shit ton of work. If you're going to do something like if you're going to be like movies with clips and like, sidebars and blah, blah, and I'm like, I don't have an editing team, man. I've got a life. I've got other things I need to do. I can't be strapped to the computer 24/7. So I'm like, a podcast, I can throw in some audio clips here and there of the things, and we can talk at length about them, do research in advance. It's going to be a little more in depth where we have a little more research. We get a little more into the history of the things we talk about, and then the history of the creator and the bios of the creators that come on. But it is closer to the original vision we had of this channel before we kind of pivoted to live streams and it became a very different beast, which honestly, I'm glad we did it for a year because I think it really... We met a lot of amazing people. We saw a lot of amazing comics, a lot of amazing projects, and we have those relationships now. We know these folks. We know these books. And it really, I'd been collecting a lot of Kickstarter comics because I'd been giving to all these campaigns, and it got me off my duff to read a lot of them finally, like the piles, the stacks I already had. And I'm like, great. Now I need to actually read these libraries because I'm about to interview the motherfucker. So let's do this. And that was great. It was hugely motivating for that. But yeah, I think it was a great year, and it's just time to see where it takes us and see what's next and see if we can make it even bigger and badder and broader, a bigger audience. Yeah. That is the goal. By the way, Richard Fairgray, how about that final Miracle Man issue? Which Miracle Man, Richard? Which volume?
Which Miracle Man, Richard?
A lot. I don't mess with that DP stuff too often.
Right. And furthermore, Richard, don't take this as an opportunity to go into a 4-hour-long diatribe. We were not trying to break any records. For those who don't know, Richard holds our record.
On right now.
He holds the record for, I think, 4 hours.
The Alan Moore Miracle Man ending. I have not read it.
Not everybody.
I have not either, and I feel bad because every final issue I think I've read of Alan Moore's I love, like Swamp Thing. Obviously, Watchmen is one of the greatest final issues. So I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Promethea. That was a great like run.
I haven't read that either.
You know. Oh, there you go. Yeah, but I have never read his Miracle Man. It's one of the
Maybe
few
we'll add that to the
more-
list and have Richard on in the future for
Yeah.
the podcast.
That
Wine
and
and
Miracle
Miracle
Man. I haven't. Yeah. So. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Mr. Miracle. That's why I was like, oh, and Miracle Man 2. And I'm like, oh wait, Alan Moore. Okay, so yes, Miracle Man. I haven't read it until when there's one more volume of Neil Gaiman's completing the whole thing.
Buckingham and
right?
Gaiman, right? Yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
Alan Moore didn't wrap up his run. He kind of passed it on to Neil Gaiman with his blessing, if I remember the history correctly. And then only now is Neil Gaiman actually wrapping that up. So I'm waiting. They've done the Bronze Age. They've done the Silver Age. There's just one more volume that they're and it looks like it's going to happen. And then I will read the whole thing all the way through. But I'm waiting. I think it's pronounced Gaiman. Gaiman.
Yeah.
How
dare you, Richard? How very dare you?
Gaiman, because it's like rye, like RAI. So it would be GAI, like Gaiman. Not Gaiman. Gaiman? Gaiman.
No, it's
Gaiman.
I've heard
it's
of it.
Gaiman. It's Gaiman.
Okay,
but that's okay.
Fair enough.
What does that matter?
I'm sure the answers
in my head. It'll probably never change in my head, but
it sounds sexier with
okay
Gaiman.
With being something else.
Is it Magneto? Is it Magneto?
So? Magneto. There you go.
Well,
I'm not the pronunciation police.
Great stuff. Well, thanks.
Great stuff, everybody.
Everybody for tuning into this little weird corner of the goddamn world that we've been sort of invested in for a little while, and we hope to drag you along to the other stuff we have in the works for you. So
yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me hang out with you. I'll step aside and let you guys sign out your show for the final issue. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, John.
Thanks so much, John. Ciao for now. We'll talk soon.
We definitely will.
We will. Rock on, man. All right, guys.
So, Davey. Final thoughts on this ending of this this sort of evolution of this most recent venture.
So, for those of you who are wondering, I'm gonna switch the banner in the upper right-hand corner right there. Don't do that. From the Wine and Comics Pairing Show to the Wine and label, because that is the new show, Wine and. It's actually going to be this same YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's already begun. If you go to the podcast section of this YouTube channel or the latest episodes under videos, you will see they are the Wine and. One is Wine and Movies. One is Wine and Music. Those are our first two episodes. Okay. And we are now doing movies, TV, music, books, and comics. And we've got them all coming. And we're going to be switching between them, having guests from all those industries on, including the wine industry. We're going to have a few of those on as well. In fact, we're recording in 2 days with someone from the wine industry. So we'll be talking to her about a music album because she was previously from the music industry and now in the wine industry. And so it was perfect. We had to talk an album with her. So that is kind of where we're at right now. We're really hoping to, the comic industry and the wine industry. When I started this show and I thought wine and comics, they are my two first loves. Some of my greatest loves, even more than movies, TV, music, and books, honestly. But I love all of those things. And also, obviously, who doesn't? But wine and comics are the most niche. And I liked how niche both of them were. Kind of shot us in the foot because it's so niche that you put them together, it's even more niche. And I think people were always really kind of like, this is cool, but no one's looking for us. So we always had a fairly limited audience in that regard. And I'm really hoping the new show is going to really balloon that and really help that explode, given a fairly short amount of time versus a very long amount of time. I think the podcast format is something we can go much faster at as well, and yet take more TLC than a live stream, but not have it be a video so that you're not actually editing and effects and putting in we don't have a team. If we ever get big enough, we'll do that, but we're not big enough yet. We're a two-man show, and we have jobs, we have social lives. Some of us have two jobs right now and a social life. And it's like that. You just don't have to. And this is not the second job. This is the third job. So we're doing the podcast instead. for that. And so that podcast, thanks guys. Thank you, John.
Yeah, John.
Cheers.
Absolutely.
But yeah, my final thoughts on this show, on the Wine and Comics Pairing Show, you know, we did want it to be at first like videos where I was putting in a lot of effort into the editing. And I think I kind of realized pretty quickly that was hard to keep up with. Like we were getting out like one episode every 3 to 4 weeks, and that ain't enough, man. You know, you got to be faster than that.
Mm-hmm.
Then the live streams came along, and we were able to do that. Like, okay, we can do like 2 or 3 of these a week. This is kind of cool, and I did really love doing it. To be honest, but I did quit. You know, I do think that unless you're going to be a live streamer, because here's the trick about live streaming, I think I've discovered, is that 2 or 3 times a week isn't that often.
It's not that often.
And no, it's like you got to be doing this like you got to have a late night show. You got to have a Discord where you're doing live things over in your Discord. You got to, I mean, like to be a successful live streamer, that ramps up yet even more. So I'm hoping podcasting is going to be what fits in the kind of workload we can take on, yet still give it attention. And actually, because one of the things I think we liked about live streaming is like, you know, we were very good. And it was very important to us. Like we read everything that we discussed and read it as much as was available that they were willing to give to us at any given time. If it was a full graphic novel, if it was a whole back catalog, like we read that shit. We wanted to talk about all of it, and we wanted to talk in depth about it. And so, you know, we're willing to put in that work, but it has to be a workload that like it makes sense. We can keep up with it. And a weekly podcast is something we can do. It will probably be a twice a week podcast, kind of, sort of. Keep that, like, we're going to see how that goes.
Because things get rolling, yeah. You know.
Yeah, for TV, we might have to do that a little quicker. So the TV episodes will be dropping on a different day of the week, and then all the others will be dropping every Thursday of the week. This Thursday, we have coming our next Wine and Movies podcast, where we're doing a really fun one. There's a guy out there who runs a website called Anime and Wine, that does anime and wine pairings, and he wanted to talk about Godzilla movies. So at the time we recorded it, Godzilla -1 was not available anywhere in the States.
It really wasn't. I was so annoyed.
No, and it's so annoying because it dropped 2 days ago on Netflix. Yesterday on Netflix, and I'm like, motherfucker. But we did do Shin Godzilla, and the first Godzilla versus Kong, not Godzilla X Kong. And we compared, and we decided this is Godzilla from 2 different countries, expressing themselves from 2 different cultures. And we compared that to how wine expresses itself differently in 2 different cultures, and had a lot of fun discussing the merits of both movies, and then the merits of a kind of wine from 2 different places. So look for that coming this week. And we're going to have a lot of fun with this podcast. But the live streams, I think they were a rite of passage for us.
For sure.
I think they were a rite of passage in more ways than one. Not just doing the live stream, but like getting on social media more, being on social media regularly, communicating with people and being part of those communities. I don't care that you think it's dirty word. Dallas, look, anything that winds up being conventional, you're like, I can't stand it. And it's like, just let things be what they are. Communicating with people is important.
Calm down.
No.
Calm down.
Communicating. This is my one statement. Communication is key in everything in life. And look, I kick against the mainstream. You know, we love indies more than we love the mainstream. To the point where I don't even idolize the mainstream. Like I wasn't even going out of my way to like get mainstream creators on the show or anything like that. It probably, if we kept going with the show, it probably would have had to happen eventually. You will see some mainstream creators on the podcast, but it's not my passion. And I do kick against the mainstream. I kick against convention. It is built within me, but at the same time, within reason, because if it's just knee jerk, it's not helpful to anybody. It's not even helpful to yourself. The mainstream exists for a reason, and it's a baseline. And it's a shared experience amongst the most number of people. And that is valuable in and of its own right. And it's important.
Yeah.
No, it is not marketing. No, Dallas. It is shared.
It's marketing.
Nope. That is you wanting to denigrate what is shared amongst people. But that is not what it is.
It's marketing. That's marketing.
Something being shared amongst people. If you think back to something that we've talked about a couple of times on this show, which is, you know, entertainment back when we were growing up, back in the 80s and 90s, and how cultivated it was. And on the one hand, it was quote unquote marketed more, kind of, but only because there were like 10. And, you know, and so it was like, that's it. There were just those 10 movies, essentially. And so everyone fucking saw them because it was curated. It was what we had available. We shared that amongst each other. But we shared that because it was what was available. It wasn't the marketing that did it. It was the curation. And we all kind of miss that ability to all share the same thing in that way, and to have it be so bifurcated these days with streaming and how much is available. Like the content sea is so vast that you're in just mini pockets of people that consume certain things, versus a mainstream really caring about anything unless it's huge, like Top Gun Maverick, the next Mission Impossible. Even the next Mad Max seems to be floundering a little bit right now. Like, it's one of those things where branding it helps up to a point, but only up to a point. And while there is marketing, I do think the shared experience of these things is something to cherish. And especially these days where it doesn't happen, like Barbenheimer happened somewhat spontaneously. That was something we almost all agreed to share and to do and to spread and to make it a thing. And that no one did that on purpose. Like, they took advantage of it as soon as it became a thing. Don't get me wrong. And they pushed it.
There are theories, Dave. There are many theories.
Sure, there may be theories. And even if it started from some small, like let's take a stab at this from a marketing angle. They took a stab at it and it just worked. And it was still predominantly word of mouth that made it work. It was not the Barbenheimer ads on TV or the billboards, because there were almost none.
I would say that the idea of marketing has less to do now with the billboards and more to do with targeted marketing in social media, with conscripting, seriously, with conscripting.
No. I know, but it doesn't.
Media.
I get that, but it doesn't work like that most of the time in terms of Barbenheimer. Nothing takes off like that the way that did.
What do you mean? That's the viral nature of social media. That is the viral nature.
Yeah, and almost nothing. Okay, what's the other movie moment that was viral social media, and that's why the movie did magic at the box office? Name one.
I don't think that the Barbenheimer thing is the reason either of those films actually took off. I really don't. I really don't.
I
really don't. Because there's no way
disagree.
There's no way to substantiate that claim with data.
I mean, there is, for the most part.
No, there's no way.
There is, as much as you can substantiate anything, because you can't substantiate what ad worked ever the way you're describing it.
Right, and then to an even greater degree, there's no way to substantiate that the combination of those two films in any way,
that's not true, because what you can substantiate. No, that's not true. Especially because it's social media. You can go back and see exactly the rise of that wave, of the hashtag, of people talking about it, of how that rose before those things actually opened. And then after they opened, how that kept going.
Okay.
You can substantiate that the word of mouth continued at whatever degree it did. And that is the proof in your pudding.
Yeah, but at that point, it is a marketing campaign, is my point. Like the idea of it growing, the idea of it growing organically and having nothing to do with it being just plastered over everyone's social media and everyone's algorithm. That is marketing.
Yeah, but Dallas, you can't point to a single other thing that has succeeded on this front, this level. And the point of that is that means the organic word of mouth is what took it to that level, not...
No.
Let me finish. because you can't point to anything where you had influencers, paid marketing, ads, basically all the things that marketing can control, and that doesn't happen 999 out of 1,000 times.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't even control that with actual traditional marketing.
Right. So it
It's not
wasn't
exclusive
actual
to
traditional
social media.
marketing.
But
That's the proof that it wasn't
social
actual
media.
traditional marketing. No. You are proving the fucking point by saying that. Actual traditional marketing, it may have attempted something to start, but the word of mouth is not something actual traditional marketing can control. So if that takes off, that is authentic organic word of mouth.
Dave, authentic organic word of mouth via social media is just
social media is no, Dallas. Social media is still
no.
Dallas.
No.
As someone who is not on social media 99.9% of your life, this is not something you have much experience in.
No. There's just
as a user or a maker. And I'm going to fight you tooth and nail on this.
Good. It's going to be an interesting conversation, but there's no way that the sort of flow, the ecosystem of social media is not manipulated to the hilt from beginning to end. It is the basis of marketing in media today. It just is.
I get that, but most things don't take off like this. So it's not just because it's on social media. It's not just because marketing did whatever marketing does. Because
marketing took advantage of a moment. That's marketing.
No, marketing takes advantage of all moments. And this still doesn't happen. Marketing tries to create moments. Marketing tries to take advantage of any moment that it thinks might be a moment. That's what marketing does. And in the vast majority of cases, nothing like Barbenheimer happens. You can't even name one other.
So the idea, the cornerstone of the sort of thesis is that the success of Barbenheimer, of Barbie and Oppenheimer, is due to the hashtag Barbenheimer.
No. The idea is that it was, I mean, I think the hashtag helped because of how cutesy it was and how simple it was as a single hashtag. And that helped to give it the simplicity that anything needs to truly succeed with that many people, with that large swath of people. But it was the idea of these two movies being associated is what it was so unique in the sense of we had never, from a marketing perspective, like no one thought to look at something like Oppenheimer, like Barbie, and make it a cultural event, like make it it's a thing together. And they're not from the same studio. They're not getting each other's so this was to some degree only because people thought it was so cutesy / clever / interesting / something they wanted to spend brain cells on.
So it's the novelty. The novelty is what
the novelty.
Okay.
And because of that, but that's the kind of organic word of mouth that you can't you can try as a marketer to create and hope someone gives a shit and it takes and then enough people talk about it and retweet it, read whatever. And Richard, Richard says, I feel Dave is describing counter programming, a long used marketing technique.
Yeah.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
But I do think that this was a accidental example of, or an example of accidental counter programming, because there is counter programming all the time where the big animated kids movie is coming out, so the other animated kids movie is not coming out that same weekend. They don't want to fight each other the same weekend because they know they're sharing each other's audiences.
Okay.
So you do release something like Oppenheimer alongside Barbie,
right?
Because they're not the same audience. This was a bizarre, novel and unique moment where the same audience became like the audiences for those two movies, which are not the same audience whatsoever from a marketing or genre or creative, like everyone involved in making those decisions would never think they were the same audiences. They became the same audience. And by becoming the same audience, it kind of became everybody that wasn't, 8-year-old kids, because Oppenheimer was admitted. I mean, some people did drag their younger kids to see Oppenheimer. They exist. But, for the most part, the whole thing of like, I got to see both. That is not standard called counter programming, because the idea of making counter programming into into non-counter programming, that was the weird organic word of mouth thing that no one saw coming. And if some marketing department had tried it as just a weird lark, like Barbenheimer, I don't fucking know, and threw it out there. The fact that it took off the way it did is still something that marketing cannot control. And even if it was incipient with them for whatever reason, or they saw someone get clever with it on social media, got some retweets, and they're like, fuck that, yeah, let's run with it. And then they started running with Barbenheimer, and then it continued to spread. Either way, marketing does that all the time too. Marketing is always doing whatever it can. I mean, marketing, the other, though, dark secret of marketing is, of course, marketing departments are not that creative and they don't want to work very hard. It's why, like, when you pitch them the thing that is not an easy sell, they're like, no, because they're like, we don't know how to market this. And so they won't touch it. Like, marketing departments are not usually that inventive or creative or fun or anything. Like, it takes someone inside has to be a bit of a maverick in order to make that happen. All right, we got, yeah, you're right. But don't you think this was the response to WB being petty about Nolan's weekend? I mean, maybe, but I still stand by the fact that the way it took off was utterly unforeseen, and we cannot think of any other example that was like it. And that is why it's not. What's
the I mean, in terms of the box office receipts, or in terms of the bump it got from what's the sort of metric? Because what's the metric for that success?
Two completely ass-end different movies that had not the same audiences coming out the same weekend from two different studios with two marketing departments that would be at war with each other and not getting together, not working together.
Yes.
They were both massive hits.
Okay. Yeah, I mean.
All right. First known use of the term Barbenheimer was a post on Twitter dated April 15th, 2022 by Matt Nagilia, editor-in-chief of the Entertainment Awards. Okay. So, and again, marketing could have jumped all over that, especially if his tweet was getting a lot of retweets. But marketing does, to your point, Dallas, marketing is always involved. Yes. However, it can be, right? But this doesn't happen very often in this way.
Well, I don't think the counter programming thing happens that often in general. I don't think it happens. I think the baseline is
wait. Yes, it does.
No.
Studios counter program types of movies on the same weekend all the fucking time. That's how they program.
But no, in terms of hold on one second. Where are we? Matt Naglia. Okay.
Richard says it used to, but Richard, it still does. They still, when you're programming, you don't want two things going up against each other that are gonna likely attract the same audience. So you make certain, and you also want distance between them. You don't want one weekend and one the next weekend, because you are afraid of how they're siphoning from each other. So if you can,
you're competing for audience share, of course.
Right. So counter programming happens all the time.
Okay, I won't disagree with that, but I think that's just that's scheduling. That's just scheduling your release.
But counter programming is part of scheduling your releases.
Expected Barbie to be what it became.
It wouldn't be a thing if Barbie wasn't received so well. BFBF. I don't know. I don't know what that typo was supposed to be. Beyond expectation. Received so well, beyond expectations. Oppenheimer. Everyone knew that would be tremendous. Well, I'm gonna push a little bit back on Oppenheimer being expected Barbie to be what it became. Okay, there we go. Hence the perfect storm for Barbenheimer to happen. So I'm gonna push back a little bit on everyone expecting Oppenheimer to be tremendous, because even though it was Nolan, Nolan's biggest hits were his genre pieces.
Yeah.
1917 did well, but it was not a sensation by any stretch. Like, that was definitely the Nolan film.
It wasn't a box office success. I mean, yeah.
It was a box office success, but it was not a runaway like Inception or well, we're not going to count his pandemic sci-fi one, because that's not fair to anybody.
Which one?
During the pandemic years? Tenet.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but again, we won't count that. But Oppenheimer was a 3-hour long period piece biopic that no one was asking for. No one just wanted to make it. And to that degree, like Fincher did a biopic on Netflix before he did The Killer right here. What was that biopic? Does anyone remember? And this is the thing. No one remembers, and there's a reason for that. It didn't get that much attention when it came out, when it finally dropped. And I know it's on Netflix and things, but see, on Netflix, it should have been like, even like The Killer got lots of attention. Mank. There we go.
That's it.
Mank. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Tenet rules. No. And yes, the Christopher Nolan expectation was there. But again, 1917, his other historical thing that was all done in the one shot, real time, or not one shot, but real time kind of way, which was a kind of gimmicky, but and was very well received critically. Did well, but not like Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was expected to be a bit of a hard sell in terms of becoming a huge box office, especially because the box office was hurting as much as it was right before this Barbenheimer thing occurred. So we were all still trying to come back from the pandemic. Tenet did not perform. I mean, it was one of the best performers during that time because of the pandemic, but still not by Nolan's normal standards. And so coming into this, here was Nolan doing not the thing that normally gets the big bucks. Oh, Dunkirk. 1917. You're right. Dunkirk. Shit.
Dunkirk.
1917.
Thank you, Richard.
Movie. Yeah. Dunkirk. 1917 is the other war movie. Who directed that? Someone else that was really big, though.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. 1917 movie was Sam Mendes. Okay.
Mendes,
so Sam Mendes was 17. And yeah. Okay, cool. But Dunkirk was the one. So yes, it was Nolan. I don't think anyone expected it to like fail, like to be a bomb. But I don't think anyone expected it to be a runaway success. I think people were worried because Tenet was not. And that was Nolan pulling the Nolan magic when it came out. Yeah. Liking Nolan this much might be the straightest thing about me. Well, yeah. See, I'm not the biggest Nolan fan. I don't like his sci-fi stuff. I hate Inception. I haven't seen Tenet. I gave up after Interstellar. I don't like Interstellar either. I do really love his early stuff. And his sort of sci-fi. The Prestige is amazing. I love
Prestige is great. The Prestige is, I think, the best film of that year for sure. Easily.
I do think The Dark Knight was magic, lightning in a bottle. But I don't like Batman Begins or The Dark Knight Rises. So I only like The Dark Knight. I think it was his magic lightning in a bottle for Batman.
So that's amazing, because I am not a huge Dark Knight fan. It was just a little empty for me. I like Dark Knight Rising, but Dark Knight was...
Ooh, what?
Yeah, I know.
No. It was all exposition. Every line of dialogue was exposition. It's so poorly written. The actors aren't even having fun. You can tell they're like, they're so bad.
Honestly, that's why I liked it, because I secretly despise the Batman sort of canon in general. It's not. So yeah, it has less to do with the actual presentation and more to do with my distaste for the character in the world, and I want everything to fail.
That's fine. That's fine. But and also, again, you are a knee-jerk contrarian. So you like the one that everyone dislikes.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. You will not sit here. You will absolutely not sit here and boil my existence down to a contrarian.
Not existence, taste.
Come now. No.
And I'm not even going to say, I'm not even going to
different
call
rubric and baseline for things I enjoy, and it changes depending on my mood.
And I'm not even going to say that it's actually your taste. Your vocalized taste is knee-jerk contrarian. It's what you like to present to the world, and you can't bring yourself to say otherwise. And it's always that thing that no one else likes. And then if anyone likes it, no matter what it is, it's just like, I don't like that one that much. Everyone was talking about it. It's just marketing. And it's like, okay, man. But
I think you interpret that, because really it's just about, notice you've gone on a 20-minute diatribe because I disagree with you. Do you understand how delicious that is?
Guess not. How delicious is it? Why is it delicious?
It's delicious because I enjoy the conversation. It has nothing to do with opinion necessarily. Sometimes it's just the conversation. And taking that contrarian position.
What's your point?
Taking that contrarian position is an active choice rather than a default personality quirk.
That is an active decision, can be a default personality.
Yes. I'm not saying they are mutually exclusive all the time. I'm simply saying in this case.
How are they not this time then? What's the argument there?
There's no argument. Yet again, it's just entertaining.
Okay, well, knee-jerk contrarian then, because you'll say the thing just to be entertaining.
Sometimes.
Or to have the conversation, or you'll say that once you've lost the argument.
I don't think we've been. Well, this hasn't been an argument. First of all,
it's been a debate. It has been a debate.
This has not been an argument, Dave. Come on.
This has been a debate, Dallas. It has been,
but not an argument.
You're a little further along the line than I am right now, but this has been a debate.
It's been a discussion. It's not been an argument. Why are we? Wait, is anyone still watching us? What's happening right now?
Richard's still here.
Richard, what are you doing here?
I mean, people like a debate.
It's not a debate. It's not a debate.
How is it not a debate? It's a literal arguing points on two differing opinions. That's a debate.
No, it's not a debate. That's not a debate.
Okay. So
I'm trapped.
No.
Welcome. Mommy and Daddy are arguing.
I was like, I'm captivated. I need to see this whole break. This is why it's the final Wine and Comics pairing show. Oh my goodness. But but it's true in certain ways. Like, I mean, I think there are lots of really great debates to have on whether it's something concerning taste or / how we come to that taste, or how we think or not think we came to that taste. Because there's a lot, like we mentioned earlier, how we are both. We have something in us that is very knee-jerk, anti-mainstream, anti-convention, so it makes us feel a little uneasy. For me personally, I definitely do I get a little cagey whenever someone expresses how much they love Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, or not that these are not great works or in some of the works within those realms are not great works, but when people are like, it's my favorite thing of all time, I'm like, the thing you share with 85% of the globe, that's the most important thing to you personally? How can it be that personal? Because you're sharing it with 85% of the fucking globe. I'm that are all their favorite fucking thing in the world. And so I get a little weirded out by that because I'm like, shouldn't the thing that's most near and dear to your heart be something that's more meaningful just to you? Like something that is more about you, what it is to you rather than what it is to the culture as a whole. Disney heads get me a little weirded out that way, which I suppose are Star Wars heads now as well. Like,
yeah,
part
exactly.
of the problem. But I think and it's not that you can't love those things, but when they're that important, like the greatest, like to you, it's all you really want to talk about. You want to immerse yourself in it, bathe in it, just like eat it, drown in it. And I'm just like, hey, like pick something a little more interesting. Come on, man.
But to your earlier point, to your earlier point, I think a lot of that, taking the Star Wars sort of, sector of the entertainment world is due to the shared experience. Is many people value the shared experience in terms of their sort of engagement.
Well, it's why people watch things when they first come out, whether or not. This thing does have a lot of acidity left too. I can't stop.
Yeah, I can see it.
Every time I take a sip, I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
I can see
it. So it's why people want to watch things when it first like it's why everyone watched Rebel Moon,
of course,
when it hit Netflix, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to be a trashterpiece," or like at best, it's going to be a trash. Like maybe it's a masterpiece of trash, but bad, but in a good way. But also, a lot of people watched it and they're still like, "Oh, it's terrible," and I can't. And then they watched part 2 the moment it dropped, and because they want to be part of the conversation. Of these things that are dropping, not because, and a part of me, I wish people would be a little more, because of course, Netflix only cares about views, right? And so if you watch it, that's like, we want more of this, please.
They're done. Yeah.
And that's what it is. So it's like, unless you actually want to vote that, yes, you want more Rebel Moon, that's what you want Netflix to dump $300 million more into.
But by the way,
you need to not watch it.
By the way, it was my partner who told me that Rebel Moon was not a Star Wars property. I had no idea. Paul Pate. How's it going, Paul?
What's up, my man?
Paul
Welcome to the grand debate. We are debating many things.
It's not a debate. He's just drunk.
Oh, and by the way, I'm completely an ass with Star Wars from Kenrick. I like it, don't love it. When people tell me they love, then I tell them I hate it. See, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. But I will say I'm not an ass about it, but like I haven't watched anything really. I watched the OG trilogy. It is a classic. I like it less as time goes on in terms of how well it's written and things like that and how well put together it is, but absolute classic. And for what Luke, especially the first one, with what Lucas, how Lucas, like what he was working with.
Oh, it's a feat. It's a feat for sure.
It's a huge feat. And I did watch I watched prequel 1 in the theaters and then I pieced out. And I did watch the second and third prequel eventually at home video. Did not like them at all. I watched the first episodes, what are they called? 7 and 8 in the theaters. And then pieced out. I've never seen 9 to this day. And I've never seen a second of any of the TV that has been coming out. So I just don't care enough. Like if it's not amazing, if it's not mind-blowing, amazing, and at this point I just don't like they've disappointed me enough with everything they've done since the OG trilogy that I'm just like, I'm good. I don't care enough. I just don't care enough.
Here's what's crazy. I saw and
yes, try not to be an ass. I do agree with that, Paul.
Yeah, I'm so disconnected from Star Wars. What's the first one that came out in the set? What's the first one? The very first one. What's it called?
First one, what? The TV show?
Star Wars.
Oh, A New Hope.
A New Hope.
You can just call that Star Wars. You can call
Star Wars, right? The OG, right? I saw that one, but I then picked up with Star Wars in the God, I even know what was it called? The ones that came out with Jar Jar Binks. God,
the prequels.
The prequels. Thank you. Yeah, I've had way too much of this.
You do not have to know the titles of this shit.
I don't. I really don't.
Phantom Menace. Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith.
Because see, they're all just one annoying thing to me, unless Lucas is watching and he'd like to read one of my scripts. But I love the Jar Jar Binks episode because I had no context for anything else. I thought it was just a ridiculous character, and it was very satisfying to watch. So after I watched that film, I checked into all the sort of bandwidth and hype and discussion about how much it was sort of universally just hated and abhorred, and I was clueless. I was like, well, I thought that was a novel character, a great attempt. But it, in context, apparently it was ridiculous.
Not just in context. He was just, there was two. I think if there wasn't as much of him, because he was a lot. He was very in your face and loud, and with that silly voice and accent and style. He was fun up to a point. But there's like 45 minutes of him in that movie, like solid. And you're just like, okay. And look, if you want to make that whole argument that like Star Wars has always been for kids and that was the point of it, and Lucas now swears by that, he says it was always for kids. And you're like, all right, well, I wasn't a kid, so I don't like it. I mean, that's fair, but not for me then. And I authentically didn't like it because I'm not a kid and I don't need to watch any of the rest of this BS.
All right, we got some comments here.
Yeah, we got some. I have a friend who was out when Chewbacca showed up. Was that in the 7th episode?
Yeah,
Chewbacca showed up. Yeah. My trilogy I love is the Spaghetti Westerns by Sergio Leone. All right, I'm gonna.
Damn right.
That's one with is that the Clint Eastwood Man with No Name trilogy he's talking about, or like the Sergio Leone like Once Upon a Time in the West?
He's probably talking about Once Upon a Time in the West.
Okay, yeah. I love Once Upon a Time in the West. What are the other two in that trilogy? Because I'm not sure if I've seen them all, but I do love Once Upon a Time in the West. That is brilliant. I'll be honest, I love anything and everything Star Wars, no matter what. There you go. Like Jar Jar though, see, not no matter what. Just you had to take it back right there. I don't like when Yoda started fighting either. Ooh, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna that was the one moment in episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Fistful of dollars. Yeah.
Fistful of dollars. Okay, beautiful. Yeah. We'll get there in just a minute. But I will say, Paul, when Yoda started fighting in Attack of the, when he started doing the whole like spinny lightsaber bouncing off the walls thing, that was the only moment I liked in that movie. I was like, sold. This is great. This is amazing. It was, but you know what? Again, everyone's mileage vary. It was silly, 100% silly. Fistful of dollars. There we go. Yes. Once Upon a Time is not really a spaghetti because it was an American production. That's why. Yeah.
Well,
okay. So wait, Fistful, the good, so it is the Man with No, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So yeah, the Man with No Name. Okay, so I've seen none of them. That's my full disclosure right there.
You know, we're going to add those to the list. We're going to add the first of those to the list. Yeah.
That was Paramount and big budget. There you go. Spaghetti is the Fistful of dollars, few dollars more in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
And Dead Man, that opening sequence is worth every penny of that fucking film. Oh my God, it's so good. Jeez.
The Johnny Depp one, right? The Jim Jarmusch, Johnny Depp, Dead Man. That's what you're talking about?
What? No, Dead Man is the name of the poster here. He referenced the Paramount big budget film, Spaghetti. Sorry, I've had way too much of this.
I think so. Dead Man is the name of a black and white Western directed by Jim Jarmusch starring Johnny Depp.
Dead Man is the name of the poster in the comments, the handle.
Okay.
X Dead Man X1.
That's Kenrick, dude.
That's Kenrick.
That's Kenrick. Okay, that's why you're like Dead Man, this and that, and I'm like, oh, that Western. Okay, now we're on this.
No, I was okay. Kenrick. God damn it, Kenrick! Put your name in your handle.
No, he's doing it through a platform where that's his handle. Unfortunately, that's how it works.
I've had way too much wine to keep up with titles and names.
Apparently.
I really have. No, slow down. It's 10 o'clock, and I started drinking 3 hours.
That's true. That's true. It's only 7 where I am. I gotta stay slow. But all right. This is probably a good time to check. We only said we do this till 7. I think people are entertained that we're just like
they're seeing us sort of unravel. That's what they've been waiting on.
Well, this is our friendship though as well. Like we do argue.
That's true. Sometimes about absolutely nothing.
Nothing. But it's like a proper friendship, a proper argument, a proper relationship, whatever you want to call it. It's a relationship of a kind.
But everybody thinks we're gay and married, so that's all.
This is true. This is true. Yeah. We made the mistake of frequenting a gay bar in WeHo, like on a weekly basis for a while before Dallas took off for the East Coast for the past year.
No, it's not a gay bar. It's a wine bar. It's just a wine bar.
Yes, a gay wine bar, Dallas. But it's WeHo, and it's that part of WeHo, and it is 100% that. And at one point I was like, everyone here thinks we're a couple, and Dallas is like, what?
Yeah.
How?
And then I looked around and I was like, oh yeah, okay, wow, okay. I get it.
It's like, come on, man, catch up.
All right, people, we're gonna call it a night.
I'm gonna let Dallas go. He's too far gone to continue debating or doing anything fun.
And Dave's got to go find someone to argue with because he likes arguing.
I do. So we're gonna Dallas, stick around just 2 minutes, just so I can prep you for the next couple days. But because we have a podcast to record in a couple days. But we are ending the live stream. So good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this final Wine and Comics Pairing show.
For sure,
we will still have lots of behind the scenes stuff on the podcast and whatnot. We do get into some fun conversations and debates there as well. Actually, it's our first music one. We kind of disagreed on that one, and we got into it. And Dallas was like, it's art. You cannot appreciate art.
Right.
And I was like, it doesn't do it for me. Yeah. So we get into it. But good night, everybody. Ciao, Kendrick.
Guys.
Good to see you, fellas. Paul. Good night.
Later, Richard.
And for all. Adieu. Ending.